January 8th. It's very cold. It's been cold for a while. We're gonna get snow, not tonight, but the next night. Get the cluster. They're still moving though. A little bit of condensation on the outside still. Not much over the cluster. January 10th. So we've got about 3, maybe 4 inches of snow, but it's supposed to snow most of the day, or at least through the morning. So pond didn't freeze over. That's good for the birds. All the snow sticking on the trees. This is pretty rare for West Tennessee. Come let the chickens out here. January 10th, our snow's already melting. I'm just noticing there's some bees here and there. Must have either got booted out, flew out and didn't make it. No, it's still alive. Looks like. Are you still alive? Let's get you closer to the entrance at least. A couple there. Another one out here. Couple out here. They must have flown out and just dropped. Couple down here. Oh, it's slipping. This has got a fair amount that came out. I wonder why that is. Some of the entrance there. A little water on the landing board there. Just a few out here. Insulated one has a few. There. There's a few out here in this insulated one. There's a couple right there on that wood, the non-insulated one. Yeah, there's just a couple. There's one that I can see on that one. It is January 17th, 2025. It's about 49 degrees and the temperature's dropping all day today, and then it's going to be in the teens tomorrow. So I'm gonna sync these devices and take a peek inside while it's still warm. Look at all those girls. Everyone looks fine. There's no condensation at this moment. Very cool. Looks good. I'm gonna take a minute and sync this and go on to the next one. Go ahead and look in the bottom board trays too. This is our hive 1. Fair amount of uncapping going on here on the west side. Saw a lot of bees in the top. A little bit of condensation on the edges. Making its way to the bottom board. The weight on this is still quite heavy. This is our hive 1.5. First look. That is still not completely propolized over. There's bees in there. Put this overhead. And there's bees in there. Of course, these are not insulated, so they're probably further down. Tiny bit of condensation at the edge. They're getting agitated until they can see some light, so I'll go ahead and close that up. Some of these bottom boards I made myself. I made the little slot a little too tight. Hey, there's a small hive beetle that dropped. That's good. I don't like those guys. And this is on the insulated hive. We didn't see a lot at the top, but you can see the cluster is staying right in the middle of the hive there. So, and there are some small hive beetles that have died. So their cluster is just different because they're not insulated. They do have a slatted rack, so that front is usually cleaner. So they actually may be clustered at the front. It's just all the droppings fall behind that first piece. So this ladder rack has bars this direction, but on the front there's a piece of solid wood along the front here. So any debris falls on that, we'd have to go over that edge when they clean it. This is our insulated hive, and with 2 inner covers on it. Getting condensation on the outside edge, and that really could be due to this being thinner than everything else. So the coldness may be creeping into the wood and then coming in because it's all around the edges. The cluster seems to be mostly in the middle. This is our hive 3, insulated hive. Well, except for the bottom part. We do have some condensation here. Again, this hive stand's kind of twisted a little bit with the added weight of this other hive. I didn't plan on that, but so that corner's just kind of dry, but most of their clusters on that east side in this area. Let's see, 1 small hive beetle that dropped in there. Again, we're not really doing counts today. I just pulled the lid off here. This is our fully insulated hive. Again, I kind of have some weaknesses in my foam here. Seeing that there's water in here, I'll probably get condensation at this level. Condensation actually in between here. So this probably is getting cooler in here. Still bees in there. They're doing okay. I'm getting some moldy frames. That very well could be because of this. The true test of that will be if there's mold along these. That'd be a lot to do with the inner cover. There's a lot of bees in there. Their weight's still fine, so they're okay. Again, you don't want that condensation over the cluster. Last time I was in here, they were up here actually licking this off and getting the moisture from it. So first winter with these, so we'll see how it goes. And next year I just may not put these inner covers on. This is the tray that goes with this bottom board, so it's pretty good. So there is some condensation in here. Good chunk of condensation in the corner this time. There hasn't been in the past. Oh, look at that. That's a big old caterpillar, so that's wax moth. I only see 1 in there. Again, if they get stuck in a corner where bees can't get to them, they can get pretty big, and then once they get to a certain size, the bees can grab them and pull them out of there, unless something's happening in the hive where they're collapsing. But not sure what that gray is. Hopefully that's not the oil eating into this styrofoam. So that cluster's mostly in the middle there. This is hive 4. First look. Oh wow. Oh gosh. That's good. Some condensation there too. Interesting. I mean, some of that's just a little bit, but there's some drips actually at the edge. There's bees in there. I'm gonna go ahead and sink this up and get this cover back on so that condensation doesn't increase. This is hive 4, just looking at the bottom board here. A little condensation. Cluster mostly on that left side. A little condensation over here. Interesting. A couple small hive beetles fell out. Such a big hive, I didn't want to leave all the space on there and not insulate it, but insulation's not the full height, so. Oh wow, look at that. Got a lot of them up here in the insulated part, so. As long as there's no pests and stuff we're seeing on the bottom board, then they probably have a good enough population. They're taking care of anything that's coming. Awesome. Yeah, if they're warm enough, they can always get these stores and move them down too, or closer to the brood. A lot of condensation in here. Some small hive beetles dying. It's like most of the activity is on that left side of the hive. Yeah, there's a fair amount of condensation in here. Small hive beetle. And we're probably getting a fair amount of condensation between where the insulation stops and then it's cold. This is hive 6.
It's interesting. There's not much. I don't see like any condensation, honestly. Just a small population of bees on the left side that I can see. Interesting.
Let's see how that relates to our bottom board. I bet you all the activity be on this left side. Yep. Not a lot though. Maybe some issues here. So another way I can tell if there's issues is the weights don't drop as much as the other ones do. So the weights should be dropping. So their population may be low. There's a fair amount of small hive beetles in here, but they're all drying and dropping. I kind of smell like almost like a fermented pollen type smell. I think here's the first look at hive 7. This is our uninsulated control. Wow. That's a lot of bees. And they're all up here at the top, and it's not insulated. Just need to keep track of the weight on this one. It's a good cluster of bees though. Make you think about if you really need the insulation or not. Again, our location is different than a lot of people's, but they seem to be thriving in this box. This is the bottom board of hive 7. Some condensation. Not a ton though. Interesting. So their activity is mostly on this north side, the west side, north side, left side. Some of this stuff looks like it's wax moth frass though, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. I don't see any larvae or anything in here though, and I see small hive beetles are dying in here, so interesting. This is our nuke 16. Look, last time we were in here there was no bees up here. Now there are bees. This is a newer cover. You can tell how clear it is. Hopefully I can clean those other ones. That's awesome. This is the nuke 16 bottom board. Most of their activity's on that side, which is the south side for this one. For that one, it was on the west, or in the north. It's on the south side. But this one is insulated. There's a good amount of condensation in the bottom board. This is what we're calling nuke 17, N17. Ridiculously tall, probably too big of a size. Lots of condensation up here. Don't see any bees. Seen a little bit of molding on that frame. They never did propolize that shut. And then this is looking at the top. There's condensation coming out of the top. It may not be sealed as much as it should be. This is that N17 again. Just checking the bottom board here. Still a good amount of activity. They're kind of hanging out in the middle. Small hive beetles look like they're dying off. It's good. It's under the hood of the nuke 22. Oh yeah, good population in there. So the hive weight on this one's a little bit, it's hard to compare to the rest because it doesn't have as much equipment. It doesn't have a slatted rack. It has a different bottom board, and then it has an insulated outer cover. So the weight is a little bit lower than the rest, but it's still probably about 13 or 14 pounds away from the 100-pound mark. At that point, I may need to start weighing some stuff to see how far off we are. But it looks like it's doing well so far. Oh wow, it's really high because there's a lot of condensation holding that water up. This is an uninsulated hive. This one's got a good population. Sometimes I see condensation actually running down the back of it when it's really cold. Wow. You get a lot of condensation, and then the activity is mostly there in the middle, but a little bit more to the right, which is to the east.
So this one has a 2-inch block just kind of wedged in a little recess. Ooh, look at all of them. A lot there, and there's a lot there along the edges. Not many in the circle in the middle, so I guess they're in there. Maybe they're further down, or maybe they're eating through the resources and they're getting to the edges and pulling stuff and taking it back to the middle. I'm not sure. It's incredible. Of course, we saw most of the activity over here on the right side, but I didn't really notice if there was much in the front versus the back. Let me get this back on and get that back together. This is probably one of the simplest things you could do, and it seems to work pretty well, at least on an uninsulated hive. This is the hive we've been calling N10 all year. It used to be, it actually has the overwintered Hive 7 queen in it, so this will be her second winter. Looks like they're mostly on the east side, which is the right. And a little bit of condensation, not a lot. Now this one does have a slatted rack. Yeah, it's just got probably, it's got 2 inches of insulation inside the super, so. And bees up top, doing their thing. Not really seeing any any issues with the frame ends here, the non-insulated hives. So they're keeping their humidity a little bit lower. I will say one of the feral colonies that I've seen in our town that lived in a tree did have an upper entrance. So it had a lower entrance and an upper entrance. It's probably just because it was the cavity that they happened to find, but not all cavities just have a lower entrance. And this was N12, which we think were some feral bees we caught from a block over. Ooh, see some small hive beetles that have dropped. I'm seeing what these darker pellets almost look like wax moths, so brass, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. There we go. As the hive stands settle, it kind of pinches the boards in there a little bit. Most of their activity's in the middle, but working their way out. And looks like we may have some more small hive beetles up there at the front. Maybe you can see them out of there. Anyways, that's what that one looks like. A little bit of condensation, not a ton. Got a warm day at the end of January. It's Friday, January 31st. A lot of bees flying. It's about 64 degrees out here. I screwed some 2x4s at the end of that rack right there. I'll flip that over when I get a chance, like the other ones, just to keep it stable. But it looks like we've got activity on every hive. And there's yellow pollen coming in from what I'm seeing too. See that? Yellow pollen on the legs. Could be maples already, I'm not sure. The buds are definitely swelling in the trees, but could be some other things out there. Henbits and dead nettle are blooming. That'll be the red pollen though. Yeah, but all the hives are currently active. So far so good. They still got about a month and a half before they're out of the danger zone. This is when they'll be losing the most weight because I think that spring started and they'll start rearing brood and there's not going to be much out there as far as nectar for them to bring in. And then if we have another cold snap, that could wipe out the pollen and nectar sources. But right now they're doing well.